I started to feel like something was off.
Well, that's a problem. Yeah, no, for sure.
So we got multiple problems here. Let's go grab some lunch.
All right.
We'll talk about it and we'll try to figure it out.
All right, let's try.
What are we going to do, Josh?
Well, so far what I've done is I've tried to essentially catalog all of the hallmarks, the red flags. So in our system, we're documenting if the rate range requested is one of these two numbers, because it's funny, every single case is one of two numbers. Whereas like the more successful, efficacious contractors always ask for more money. So there's a hallmark there. They're asking for a certain number. And so we call that out, automatically flag it as a red flag. So I guess what I'm saying is we have a couple points within the process where we expose the fraud that we're starting to spot trends. And we look to do investigation at that point. But as far as like preventing them from entering the funnel, that might just be a consequence of the overall market that we're participating in right now.
So we can do the rate thing, but then if they get smarter, they'll just ask for more money. So right now, before we get them contracted, we ask them for their ID. The problem is they're sending in fraudulent ID, which we cannot catch, right? And so you're just sniff testing the ID. So are we doing background checks on any of these guys?
That's later. That's at the end of the funnel. Once we get confirmed on the client, that's when we pull
Which is too late, in my opinion.
It's too late.
It's too late.
But we can't inject that up front because it'll slow it down too much. I mean, background, if we go federal and state.
I know, it takes 7 days, 10 days. So.
But that's the other thing, right? They'll have, when you make the phone call, you try to call them, you know how it does that weird beep, like when you're calling overseas, that happens a lot.
What if we told the client in advance that part of our process with unknown quantities, this has to play out, and I got to run the numbers on the P&L to see if it makes sense, but I don't think we have a choice. I think it's a sunk cost that we do have to do a background check, because it's the only way we're going to be able to validate Social Security to an identity without that. And I know other companies aren't doing that.
Yeah, but the concern I have with that is simply, I want customers to have like choice and to be in control, but there's almost an illusion of the choice at this level, because what we don't want to have happen is a customer say, oh, okay, there's this bifurcation where there's net new people and known quantities. I'll be your customer only if I get known quantities. Then all
That's
of a sudden,
little unrealistic, though.
I don't know, man. If you go and tell these people that because they're net new and we have no data on them, we got to go pull this background check, they might say, well, just give me the one you know. I don't want to deal with that. That's too risky to me. So it's like they don't know about it. They don't even think that they're net new. So therefore, it doesn't impose a problem. But if they think about it, it exposes.
But we got 25,000 people in our database. They're not all on projects.
Right, but they still don't think about it to that level. Once you allow them, invite them to think about it at that level, they could start to want to elect a choice, and that's what.
As opposed to the alternative is we don't tell you, and then you get someone like that on your account, and we take risks.
Well, but we have to have all the process so we don't get to the point where we kick off with somebody like that.
Well, you can't be the one calling them. That's the problem.
Right. Right. And I don't have a solution for that right now.
That's my solution. Literally. We got to be transparent with the client and say, listen, our time is 2 weeks. However, because of the pandemic, we don't control. It has created a market for fraud. Essentially, it's what this is, identity fraud, where they're representing that they're in the United States, but they're not. And there's infrastructure behind this now, with fake IDs and documents. So the only way we can validate that is through this. Oh, and by the way, you should take this to your own HR department and let them know what we've discovered, because it may be happening to you and you don't even know it.
So when in this funnel are you suggesting we inject this background check process?
I'm suggesting
before or after we present them?
I'm suggesting after the contract is signed, as we start the staffing process and we have the staffing call, that's where we introduce the client to this new variable that, if you really think of it, is like an insurance policy for them, right? So we're trying to do good by them.
When are we pulling it? After we've introduced them and they've said, yes, I want to move forward with John or whoever the developer is.
Well, I think that becomes the client's choice to what you said.
But what we'll tell them is, we're going to deliver a named resource in 2 weeks or faster. When we deliver that named resource, if for some reason, if they happen to be net new to TopDevz, then we're going to run a background process or background check, which means we can give you someone in 2 weeks, but we won't be able to kick off for 3 weeks because we need that extra week to pull the background
I like
check.
that.
That way, it looks like it's baked into our process. It's in our contract. We can even make a clause in the MSA.
It is transparent to the client.
Precisely.
They know what they're getting.
Yeah.
We're not giving them something that, is a bait and switch. And I like that it's clean, and it's a reality we have to deal with now. And I don't think other consulting firms are going to catch all this stuff with all the stuff we've got going on right now through the funnel to be able to detect that.
So we need to try to find a good servicer who can operate quickly for us, so we can systematize that.
We got to get in front of this, and good for you for picking this up, man. I mean, can you imagine if one of the clients got on, and it's probably happening right now, and they don't know about it.
Right.
So one of the points that Josh brought up, which is very important and very detrimental, both to our business and to our clients, is the level of sophistication, IP theft to export compliance, and there's a lot of risks associated with that. So although you heard, Josh and I discussing this matter, the behind the scenes really is important, that the clients are paying for US-based resources, and this is kind of infecting that pool quite a bit. My concern is to make sure that we have to implement a process to detect this, which we discussed, but also be realistic that we can actually execute on this. This is going to probably be around for a while. It's going to be something that every company is probably going to have to deal with at some level. And so having the sophistication in our application tracking system to be able to segment folks, training our recruiters to be able to detect this problem sooner, looking out for specific things. I believe that clients today are very sophisticated in their buying patterns. They can understand human variables that go into it. And they come to a company like TopDevz to be able to source resources where these resources have actually been vetted. So if we get into the game of kind of letting it slide, we probably could get away with it for a little while. But again, that's why you buy insurance, car insurance, life insurance. When unexpected things happen, we don't want to be hit in that kind of situation. Second thing is the sophistication of the clients that I mentioned. I believe that they will accept this as the new reality and actually be impressed with how much attention we're paying to that kind of detail and making sure the resources are vetted to that degree. I mean, with this level of fraud going on, you have credit card companies that dedicate entire departments to just detecting fraud. And I know it's not the same industry and the same thing, but detecting fraud now has become a part of our business. So the transparency to the client, I think, is going to establish a much better relationship, foster growth and trust with that client. It's a very competitive market in what we do. Clients are most of the time, looking for the best rates. But I again believe the sophistication of our buying clients today, they will factor this in as a cost of doing business, and we'll have to bake that into our costs. The cost center for us to be able to implement this is more of a survival of a long-term gain for the company. If we get into that game and give in one or two clients, this could blow up. We're out of business. Our reputation means everything to us. So I look at it as we have to do this. We have to figure out a way to make this work. And I think every company is going to be having to follow suit if they don't already know about it.